Hey there, this is Darren Colto with a tutorial for animating image textures in the free 3D modeling program Blender. Image textures are 2D images projected onto 3D objects to simulate real-world surfaces. The specific type of image texture we'll animate is an image sequence, which is nothing more than the individual frames of an animation. We'll use Blender to assemble a collection of such frames into an animation of a marker pen circling some text on a newspaper. Here are the general steps we'll take. Use a painting program to create the frames of the animated circle. In Blender, make the newspaper object. Project the animation frames onto the newspaper, then animate a marker in sync with the animated circle. Let's get started. In a paint program such as GIMP, paint about 24 separate images of marker pen ink, progressively tracing the outline of a circle. Paint the first image as just a dot at the top of the circle and give it a file name like marker001.png. Paint the last image as the complete circle and give it a file name like marker024.png. Save each image between the first and last with file names ranging from marker002.png through marker023.png. Make the text portion of all file names the same. Make sure the numeric portion increases by 1 for each new image, and that this numeric portion always has the same number of characters, be it 2 or 3 characters. Blender won't see the separate images as members of a sequence unless its file names match a clear and specific pattern. Here's what your final image sequence should look like. Once you've painted all images in the sequence, you can create the newspaper object that will show the sequence. Open Blender, then start building the newspaper object by clicking the Scale button on the 3D Windows header. Drag downward on the Z-axis until the cube is flat. Drag the other axes until the cube's dimensions are close to those of a newspaper. We're using a cube instead of a plane to represent the newspaper because Blender's animated image textures don't work on plane objects, but do on cubes. With the newspaper object's basic shape established, we can use Blender's texture tools to load the image sequence we made earlier onto the newspaper. Click the checkerboard icon on the Properties window to open the texture context, then click the Image Movie item of the Type drop-down box. This tells Blender we want to use an image as texture and not an algorithm, which is what textures like wood and clouds use. Load in the first of your marker pen images with the Image panel's Open button. Click the Source Control's Image Sequence item to specify that the image you just loaded is one of several images. Check the Auto Refresh checkbox so Blender displays the next image in the sequence when you move the animation time slider ahead or back in time. Type the number of images in the sequence in the Image panel's Frames control, then click the Texture item in the 3D Windows header. This is one of 2 tasks needed to see the first of the loaded images on the newspaper object. Click the View menu's Properties command to display a list of properties for the newspaper object, then expand the display panel by clicking the text Display. Click the GLSL item of the Shading control to indicate you want to display the newspaper in the 3D view with a type of OpenGL algorithm. GLSL stands for OpenGL Shading Language. The newspaper now displays the first of the images you painted. Repeatedly click the right of the current frame control to advance several frames into the animation. Blender will load the remaining images of the sequence with each click, showing the circle forming bit by bit on the newspaper. At this point, you've successfully created an animated image texture. The result is an animation where a circle mysteriously appears on a newspaper by itself. By following the remaining instructions in this lesson, you can make it appear as though a marker pen is tracing out the circle. We'll insert just a simple cylinder object to represent the marker pen. After finishing this tutorial, you can use Blender's modeling tools to make a more realistic looking marker pen, such as the one you'll see at the end of this lesson. Click the Add menu's Cylinder item to insert a cylinder into the scene. Click the Scale button, then drag the axis handles as needed to size the cylinder until its shape is close to the shape of a marker pen. Click the Translate button, Then drag upward on the blue axis until the bottom face of the cylinder is above the newspaper. Click the magnet icon on the 3D Windows header to enable Snap Mode. In this mode, you'll be able to position the marker exactly on the surface of the newspaper. Click the face item from the control to the right of the magnet. This tells Blender you want to snap one object's face onto another object's face. Move your mouse near the bottom of the marker, then press G to enter grab mode. Move the mouse over the newspaper until the marker pen snaps to the newspaper. Click the mouse to exit grab mode. The marker's bottom face is now flush with the newspaper's top face. However, it won't stay flush as you animate the marker unless you take steps to constrain it. Click the lock icon located to the right of the Z location control in the transform panel. This action prevents the marker from moving up or down, which means its bottom surface will stay in contact with the newspaper. Rewind the animation to frame 1 by clicking the rewind button in the timeline window. Re-enter grab mode by pressing G, then drag the mouse to move the marker pen so that its bottom tip appears at the edge of the paint stroke on the image. Press I to display a list of keyframe types, then click Location to make a keyframe that stores the change in location of the marker pen. Click the right side of the current frame button to move the animation time slider to the next frame, then move the marker and make another keyframe as you did the first. Make the remaining frames in the animation the same way, then click the play button to play the complete sequence of the marker drawing the circle. Thanks for watching.